I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, October the 1st. Brought to you in part by Kansas Regenerative Medical Center, one of the first and largest standalone stem cell treatment centers in the Midwest. These guys are pioneers in the regenerative medical field. For more information, go to kansasrmc.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, huge sale. I mean, you might think, of course, I've told you what the kind of facilities they've got there. I mean, unbelievable facilities and the best of help and everything. But for a country sale barn in the middle of nowhere to have 6,500 cattle this week, that is huge. They've built a monster there and they can handle it. They got the buying power to do it. They got the facilities to do it and a lot more. But the cattle coming to them from 5 different states there. Sitting right there in the Oklahoma Panhandle. They're going to have 3,500 calves here today on Tuesday. Most of them weighing 400 to 600 pounds. Very few of them weaned. Maybe 10% of them weans, what Lane Conkle told me. But he said the overwhelming majority, probably 75%, will have at least one round of IVR. So that's better, and they've got a lot of long strings of calves, and the quality is outstanding. So you get those long strings, been handled together, really good quality. You can figure it out. You can get them straightened up there, but lots and lots of good calves there. Probably have 2,700 yearlings. Be a lot of yearling heifers. Probably 700 of those. Most of them weighing 600 to 800 pounds. Not many square loads in the heifers. There's a lot of big bunches, but not necessarily square loads on the heifers. Guys will have to kind of do your trick and put those together. But like 2,000 head of yearling steers, weighing from 800 to 1,000 pounds for the most part. Most of them all black. Be over 22 straight loads of yearling steers there, guys, and most all of them will be right off the grass. So if you're interested in some cattle, get an order in to Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma on Tuesday, or get on DVAuction.com. You got to call Jerry in the office early. She wants to talk to you before she'll approve you guys. Don't just say you would like to be approved. Probably have another 500 cows on Wednesday. For the most part, just be weigh up cows, but they did say that a lot of the cows that are coming in, even some of the open cows, they are in a pretty good condition. You know, they're not too fleshy, and if a guy wanted to feed some of those cows or turn them out, put some weight on them, maybe try to get them rebred, there's some opportunity there. So don't forget about Beaver County Stockyards on Tuesday for the feeder sale and the cow sale on Wednesday here this week. Check them out on DVAuction.com. October is the National Dead Calf Month. And that might sound kind of hard, but it's not. I'll tell you what, if you've ever tried to straighten up new arrival calves coming in, especially those that are unweaned, kind of commingled, put together cattle coming out at a lot of different sales, boy, it's tough in October, guys. You got the hot days and the cool nights, big wide temperature swings. A lot of times it's dusty, which makes it worse. And it really takes a toll on people. If anybody thinks that people that handle cattle don't love them, check out and see how depressing it becomes whenever you start having mounting death loss. It's very, very depressing, and you do everything you can possibly do to save them as far as veterinarian type work, but you don't know what to do. You don't know whether to mass treat them with the really good drugs, the telithromycins. You don't know to mass treat them with something lighter, so maybe you have something to go to later. Maybe you just think about giving them all their shots and then watching them and pulling sick ones and giving them a shot. But then that gets to be overwhelming. A guy doesn't know what to do. And so it's just he does the best he can, and everybody brags about how their death loss percentage is lighter than everybody else's, and you respect those people, and people that know how to straighten up calves this time of year, you look up to them. But until we get a hard freeze, from now until we get a hard freeze and consistently cooler weather, it's going to be tough to straighten up these calves. And then, and think, well, the cold weather comes. Cattle don't mind cold weather. Cold weather, they got that furnace in them called a rumen, and as long as you keep something in there and keep them filled up with some hay or roughage in there to keep that thing working, keeps them warm. There's not a lot of bugs bothering them, and not a lot of things carrying disease, so they get easier to straighten up as we go. The hell of it is, if you want to straighten up cattle for wheat, you got to have those things ready to turn out by November the 15th. You can't really wait until it gets consistently cold in the southern plains, or you won't have enough time to get those cattle foolproof to turn them out. And it's just it's a kind of a catch-22, but it's tough, and I mean, anybody that has trouble, they're just being honest with you, because it is tough. And the coyotes don't even howl in October down around that wheat pasture country, because they're too busy picking their teeth at night. But we've got a pork strike that is due to start here today. The last we heard on Monday evening is that that was the only way out. Both sides had kind of stuck their heels in and weren't giving any more. So if they do have a pork strike, the union there that controls the workers on the eastern, on the Pacific side of the ports and the Gulf side are going to be in strike. Now the Pacific side, not so much. And we talked about this the other day. Maybe it's okay for the cattle, because we export most of our high-end product out the west coast, and our imports come mostly up through the Gulf on the south side. If those are closed down, maybe we don't have any more. There's just so many different angles in that, and I'm not smart enough to tell you whether it's going to help or not. You would think it'd be great, if we can still export stuff and we can't get as much of that cheap import stuff coming in, but not necessarily, because if this still really gets to be bad, and it could, and I don't know if the government's going to try to stop it, or if President Magoo is even still awake. It seemed like he's kind of checked out after they took the nomination away from him. It's hard to know, but I tell you what will happen is, if this still gets really sticky, it's going to hurt the stock market. And when the stock market goes down big, a lot of times the CME cattle futures go down big with it, and that is not good for anybody. So that is tough. Has a lot to do with the cold storage. It's interesting, cold storage come out, and Daily Livestock Report did some interesting analysis on it. They said that our beef stocks are still very near year-ago levels, where it's pretty consistent with where we've been. Might be down some, but compared to year-ago levels, our imports from Australia, our imports, of course, it's that old brushy beef. I tell you, it's just lean beef coming in off them cattle running out there in the deserts and stuff. They haven't had any grain or anything coming in, and our imports of beef from Australia is up 63% compared to a year ago, and our imports from Brazil are up 57%. So we must be lagging off from somewhere if we're still near year-ago levels, and those two countries are up so big. I don't know if we're not taking as much from Canada or what's going on there, but it's easy to see what we're doing. They've enticed us to make these giant carcasses, averaging on the average dressed steer carcass over 940 pounds now, when we used to have stiff discounts not long ago, anything over 950, and now they average 940 plus. And we're making these huge obese carcasses. We've got a lot of trimmings. They bring in this brushy beef stuff. It's lean. They throw it in a hopper, throw the fat trimmings from these obese cattle that we're making, that they're enticing us to make, in there with it, grind it up, make something that's kind of palatable, and that they can sell, and it helps them on that end too. So those packers are smarter than we are when it comes to fed cattle marketing on the trade, and when it comes to this beef marketing, for sure. Of course, there's no way that you can stop what they're doing. I mean, they're doing what they got to do to try to survive there, but it's partly the cattle feeders' fault for chasing that carrot to 1,800-pound steers that is really helping them get out of these tight supplies, and also helping them with the trim there too. But our fed slaughter, our total slaughter, estimated slaughter from under USDA inspection there, it has been down a bunch, and it's been real light all year. Most of it's just been from the cows. Our fed slaughter, and we found out here a month or two ago, we were talking about it, our fed slaughter of fed steers and heifers has actually been pretty big. And for the week ending September the 14th, they revised it, and it was actually up 5,900 head from what they had estimated. And they had one day in there that they slaughtered 103,000, nearly 300 fed steers and heifers, and that would be an all-time record of the amount of fed slaughter we had in one day. That is huge. That's why these tight numbers aren't making a big difference, guys. We're just not killing very many cows, or that we're trying to, the cow packers want to kill cows. That's why cows have been so high, but they're just not out there. They're not available. And now you got cow feeders that are coming in and buying a lot of those cows, sending them to a feedlot and feeding those cows. They do that a lot, especially up in the northern plains, guys. But it's just a lot of different things that are happening. And we want to think about those people that have been affected by the hurricane that come up. I tell you what, that has been terrible. That Hurricane Helene come up, and it come up right there west of Tampa, Florida, and it just carried and carried and carried, and had so much water with it and so much force, almost like we haven't seen. And it just went up and really affected a lot of people. And I got an email from a guy up in that part of the country on Monday, and he says it's terrible. He says, I've been here all my life. It's the worst I've ever seen it. And he doesn't live on the coast. He lives, up in the eastern part of the country there. But he says it's been bad in western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, upstate South Carolina, all over Georgia, and of course the northern parts of Florida there. But he says it is terrible. I mean, just bridges have been washed out, major roads have been washed out. I think I-40 is still closed. They said people's entire lives have been washed away, their farms, their homes, their livestock, everything. As they've reported around 130 people that have died, and there's hundreds more still missing. This is terrible, and we haven't seen President Magoo do anything about it at all. Like I say, he's just pretty much checked out. And who's running the country? I guess it's just on cruise control, or the same deep state Democrats have been running it, that's been running it for the past 4 years nearly. Let's talk about your board for the first day of the week to start out. October live cattle were up 2 cents at 183.77. December was up 32 at 184.80. Back months up 15 to 72 cents higher. October feeder cattle down 87 cents at 246.20. November down 80 cents at 244.90. Back months down 82 to down 127. So feeder cattle were down quite a bit, and your fat cattle were up. You don't see them all of them one completely down and all of them up, but you did on Monday. December corn was up 6 3/4 cents a bushel, with a friendly corn stocks report there that come in 84 million bushels lighter than what they expected. And so December corn was up 6 3/4 cents a bushel at 424 3/4. November beans down 8 3/4 at 10.57. Hard red winter wheat for December up 7 cents at 583 3/4. Your fat cattle trade brought to you by Legacy Beef Cooperative. That Legacy Beef Cooperative is going to own a portion of Cattleman's Heritage Beef Plant there, being constructed right now outside of Council Bluffs, Iowa. You might want to get in on that, guys. I'm giving that to you to get in. Be a good investment for a long time. Your fat cattle trade negotiated out of your 5-area feeding region 63,200, which was pretty good. Not as good as the previous week at 68,900. a little more than the same week a year ago, which was 62,100. But it was kind of curious to me that your packers got real aggressive on Thursday. Jump bids $2 and just went to buying cattle, and they still didn't buy any more than we did a week ago. 63,200. That's a pretty moderate movement. Could they not find them to buy out there? They were sure going after them. So maybe that's a sign that really we are pretty tight on our market-ready supplies, just like most of the guys that I talk to say there is. But we keep getting information coming out that we have just as many fat cattle available for the fourth quarter as we did last year. I don't know. Let's talk about your prices. Your fat steers and heifers live basis FOB in your 5-area feeding region sold from 184 to 188. That was $2.50 to as much as $7 higher, but mostly $2 to $2.50 higher. Weighted average on live steers in the 5-area was 186.15. That was $2.14 higher than the previous week's weighted average. Dress trade ranged from $2.90 to $2.95, which was $2 to $2.50 higher. Dress steer weighted average in the 5-area, $293.53. That was up $3.12 as a whole. Your Southern Plains market was mostly $2 higher at 185. Northern Plains 1 to 2 higher from 185 to 187, and dress 2 to 4 higher from 292 to 294. Nationwide, we sold 81,200 negotiated compared to 87,000 the previous week and 73,500 the same week a year ago. Of that 81,200, about 15% of those are for the 2 to 4 week delivery, so they're starting to try to build that up a little bit. Negotiated grid sales last week totaled up 37,200. Forward contracts have started to get a little bigger than they were. 26,700 head forward contracts last week, and formula sales last week 268,800 head. Of the 4 out of 5 feeding areas that we get information from, Iowa by the end of the week had totaled up 22,000 head negotiated purchases. Nebraska had 28,200, Kansas 8,300, and Texas 4,700. Your box beef cutout values. Actually, I want to tell you about New Holland sales stables. I told you guys some markets out of there, and I like to give you a cash fat cattle trade when I can, and several people said they liked it. New Holland sales stables out there in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. They sell a lot of fat cattle at auction. They have a good cow market. The fats were $1 to $2 higher on Monday, from 190 to 205. Extreme high dressers, some of the local butchers get in there and buy up to 219. Cows are $5 to $6 higher, and cows as a whole all over the country were lower last week. Maybe they're going to be higher this week. They were $5 to $6 higher to start the week in New Holland, with cows, slaughter cows selling 105 to 127. High dressers up to 143. Box beef cutout values were higher to start the week. Choice cuts 298.08 up 139. Selects up 245 at 284.53. Your slaughter 119,000 for Monday, estimated 1,000 more than last Monday, 4,000 less than a year ago Monday. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Monday sitting at 246.27. Down 36 cents, with a lot of commodity type sales on Monday like typical. And that was your CME cash feeder cattle index actually got higher on the last move. Latest it's sitting at is 247.24. Hooking up a brand new sale barn. Be the first day for Messina livestock sales in Messina, Iowa to ever broadcast on the internet. Doing it with DVAuction, guys. Got a pretty good sale too on Tuesday, about 1,400 head. They're going to have 6 straight loads of yearling steers professionally purchased and put together really well. They'll be nice, lights out kind of steers for you farmer feeders there. And then they've got a lot of nice calves coming in, and the quality will be outstanding on that. So not only do you need to get to Messina livestock sales if you're interested in those, now you can get on DVAuction.com. Be riding along on your combine, looking at your smartphone after you get approved, and you can bid on some of those cattle. That'll be handy, and we're sure glad to have Messina Livestock Sales there in Messina, Iowa. Another big sale they're having on Tuesday will be in North Platte, Nebraska at North Platte Stockyards. Got a big run there. Talk about your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City, 5,800 head. Steers, all weights and classes, $3 to $8 higher. Heifer calves are $3 to $8 higher. Bigger feeder heifers, your middleweight feeding heifers run evenly steady, and your big feeding heifers weighing over 8 were $5 higher, but a little bit uneven there on the trend, but did have some improved quality is what they said on the market report. And a stick out sale I saw out of the city was 117 steers, weighed 831, bring 251 and a quarter. Joplin Regional Stockyards, they're back to underestimating again. They had 6,400 head. They were only estimating 5,500, so that makes them feel good. They're getting cattle from places they didn't know they were going to come from. But they've got a special cow sale coming up this Wednesday, the 2nd. It starts at 4:30, and they got a good run there and several breeding bulls. But the feeder sale on Monday in Joplin was mostly from steady to $8 higher. They did have the big yearling feeder steers weighing over 8. The market reporter called those steady to $3 lower, but they had a pretty good sale on those last week. But Joplin was your National Beef Wire stick out sale of the day. Check out the best tested weight groups, and of course they're throughout, because they just get all classes of cattle, all weights and sizes and kinds of cattle. And Jackie Moore on his report that he puts out, his video report that he puts out after the sale, he said there's a lot of different kinds of cattle in there, a lot of different classes. They were in different conditions, and they all bring different prices. And talking about the discounts on those fleshy cattle, unweaned cattle, and cattle that don't look as thrifty as some of the others that are unweaned, they all bring different prices, and that's where the buying comes in. But Joplin's, look at their best tested weights, 348 head of full weight steers, average 453 at 275.77. That's 617 head of 5 weight steers mixed together, all the different classes and weaned and unweaned. They average 550 pounds on the steers and bring 264.31. 824 head of 6 weight steers, average 649 at 260.13. Those were called as much as $6 higher, and that's where the higher really come in, is on those bigger calves, and the discount on the balling calves wasn't quite as bad on them. They had some farmers in there buying some of those cattle. That was where most of your higher prices were seen against your weighted average. 911 head of 7 weight steers, average 753 at 250.02. Those were $9 higher on the weighted average, straight up on your automated market report. 1,070 head of 8 weight steers, averaged 840 at 242.32. On your heifers, 401 head of 4 weight heifers, average 457 at 259.36. 543 head of the 5 weight heifers, average 553 at 249.69. 661 head of the 6 weight heifers, average 643 at 242.31. And 305 head of the heifers in the 7 weight category, average 735 with a weighted average price of 231.99. Some individual type quotes. Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington, Kentucky is another place where they get a good test of all classes of cattle in there. I saw 2 quotes that really impressed me. 86 steers weighed 469 through the ring there in Lexington, Kentucky, bring 310.50. And then during the same sale, they sold 62 steers weighed 796 or 800 pounds, bring 255.5. Thought both of those were impressive, especially for that far east, guys. Another impressive individual quote was Bighorn Basin Livestock Auction out of Worland, Wyoming. 50 steer calves weighed 478 and bring 335.5. Thought that was impressive. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day come out of Bowman Livestock Marketing in Bowman, North Dakota. They sell 56 steers, weight 858 at $257.50. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.